Hey everybody, it's Tony George along with Sean Salisbury, radio show host extraordinaire, the Sean Salisbury Show, found over there each and every day at iHeartRadio. Be sure and go over there, listen in, subscribe, all those good things. Great follow on Twitter as well at Sean Unfiltered. And we get Sean Unfiltered every week right here at Doc Sports on our YouTube channel. And we're talking college football. And Sean, I got 3 words for you. Montana State Grizzlies. 13-7 winner over Washington last week at home, minus 23, and got beat straight up. If that's not what you call looking ahead to the following week, I don't know what is. And I know that you played college ball at USC, and there's always one game or 1 or 2 games during your career in college where you're playing Tallahassee JUCO and you got UCLA or somebody, Utah or somebody good on deck next week. You kind of think they're going to come lay down. And, well, the Grizzlies did not lay down. Meanwhile, Michigan, 47-14 win over Western Michigan last week. But Sean, Jim Harbaugh is in a big game at home coaching. This is a big football game. So far, I'm yet to be impressed with him coaching in big football games. Your thoughts on this game here? Michigan laying 6 right now.
Think about this now. Think about how Vegas feels too. They're going to be in the big house in front of about 105,000. Washington gets their ass kicked by Montana in embarrassing fashion. Now, Tony, I've been in some of these games, but I promise you, USC, we ain't losing to Utah State when we played them. You're not beating. Back in those days, we were beating those teams at halftime. My ass was prepared for what we were doing after the game. Okay, being a little facetious, but you get my point. First of all, Washington's quarterback play was putrid last week. And I am so tired of teams, and you hit it square right in the mouth. I'm so tired of teams giving me the old, or fan bases, the look ahead. Washington is a great place to play. It is a great fan base, but you can't do that in the opener. I understand 7 games in and Alabama or Michigan's next and you're undefeated and somebody comes close and you say, woo, sense of urgency in the fourth quarter. This can't happen, man, if you're the University of Washington. With all that said, 3 picks by the quarterback. They just looked awful and almost looked as if that Montana wasn't on scholarship. Well, they were. And now, look, they're going on the road to a Michigan team who I don't trust. And it's been a couple years in huge games. They bother me. They bother me with point spreads. They bother me. I love Jim Harbaugh. Jim's a buddy. We played at the same time. But there's something, I don't know what it is with Michigan. There's always Western Michigan, fine, but there's always something that prevents them from, like, can the quarterback play continue to elevate? Can they get a stop? In the past, with Don Brown in the past on defense, are you going to get stops to the point where you're Michigan when the big house is actually, whoa, a good team's coming? Now, don't misunderstand me. I love the program, but I'm waiting for them to get another signature win where they're kicking somebody's ass up and down the field, and we say, okay, Michigan's back. Washington, now, is this that type of game? I don't know. But Vegas is saying it's less than a touchdown after Montana whoops Washington, and now they're going on the road in the big house and playing Michigan, and Michigan hangs 40+. So that ought to tell you how they feel about their trust in Michigan too. I would wholly expect Washington to play a better game, but you turn it over 3 times, let your quarterback throw it to the other team, they'll get run out of the gym. So this game bugs me because right now I think Washington was preseason overrated. And I'm still trying to figure out, is Michigan as good as Wisconsin, Penn State, Ohio State, Iowa? I mean, there's a lot to roll through on that team. So this is an odd game, and I think it's kind of an odd line. And maybe, Tony, you're smarter at this than me, but something tells me that this is one of those. I don't even know what the over-under is, but the first thing that comes to my mind is take the under on the road, Michigan, Washington, with quarterback play that I'm not sure I trust on either side consistently right now. But this preseason, this looked like a big game. I mean, like a really good game. Now, Washington lose this, and you might as well forget it, because then they'll start to plummet. And Michigan needs this semi-signature win against a Pac-12 team that was supposed to be a Pac-12 North possible Pac-12 championship type team, and they still may because it was Montana.
Yeah.
But you can't, if you're a good team, you don't show up in the first game of the season flat. Who the hell does that? And
I don't
Washington
know.
did. And we're about to find out if they can handle 105,000 or so screaming at the big house at Michigan.
So a couple things come to mind, and I'll bounce these off of you. Number one is, I know you know Jim Harbaugh. You knew him as a player. You knew him as a coach of college. You knew him as a coach. You know him, and obviously a coach of the NFL. I would say that this is a defining moment for Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines for this season. For this season, to set a tone that, they can beat a quality opponent. Now, Washington, obviously, I would be very curious to know if Washington would have taken care of business against Montana State, if this line would have been 6. If they'd have beat Montana State 37-5, 37-3, 37-7, coasted in the fourth quarter, stuck in some scrubs, got some guys some reps, rest the starters for Michigan. That probably was the game plan, Sean, and it didn't pan out that way. And the quarterback looked like he just pissed down his leg the entire game. On the other side of the coin, Michigan surprised a lot of people by that big of a win last week, because Western Michigan's a decent program, and they struggled early out of the gate but showed some strength here. The total opened up at 51. It's down to 48.5. So the Sharps are thinking the same way you're thinking. And I think this will be a little bit more of a slugfest. I think this big of a line in a game, matching up a couple of teams with a lot of talented players on both sides of the ball for both teams, maybe a little bit overreaction. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say Washington's going to give them a ball game, cover the 6, Sean, and maybe an underplay too.
No, I'm with you. It's weird on our other video talking about the NFL. I feel the same way because I just don't feel – I feel both defenses are good enough. Did we go in at halftime, Tony, and it's 13-10, right? And at 13-10, and you're playing to the point where Michigan, okay, they know Washington's coming down. They also know that Washington was humiliated. So if Harbaugh's given a pregame speech or throughout the week saying, don't expect that team to come to town. This team's coming in different. Do not expect them. You better expect Pac-12 Don James type of football teams back in the day showing up here. Yeah. And I feel like the slugfest, and in the fourth quarter, somebody makes a play, a missed tackle, but I can see it going back and forth, and then a turnover on a fumble on a big hit. And before you know it, we're entering the fourth quarter, and it's 20-17, and then a missed field goal, and then they come back and answer. I feel like it's one of those games because I'm yet to believe that either team's overly, even though Michigan hung points, they ain't hanging 45 on Ohio State. You and I both know that, right?
Yeah.
I got to see more. And this is early season stuff while young quarterback McNamara is still trying to figure it out last week. Now, then do you play not to lose, Tony? If you're Washington, right, aren't you sitting there thinking, I mean, if you're Michigan, you're saying, we understand who's coming to town. And if you're Washington, you're saying, well, damn, we can't lose 2 in a row. So how do we do this? Yeah. You want to cut it loose, but you know how hard that is to go cut it loose after you just, like you said, piss down your leg against Montana. So I'm really anxious to see how they do it. I think it's a feel your way through game and see if you can give me a 4-minute drill at the end of the game. I'm with you. I like Washington inside that number, and I think that we're staring at a lower scoring game because Washington's physical enough to make Michigan earn it. They are.
Yeah. I agree. I think the consensus pick's going to be in this game is going to be on the under between Sean and I. And bear in mind that Washington, and no offense to Sean's alma mater, USC, but year in and year out over the last 5 years, the 2 most physical teams on the defensive line in the Pac-12 have been Utah and it's been Washington. And their physical football team. They're going to get after it here. They're going to have their ears pinned back after getting embarrassed. And this is a good way to make up for a crappy performance. Get in an 8:00 Eastern Standard Time game on national TV and go knock heads at Michigan in front of 106,000 people, in front of a national television audience. Yeah.
Faint of heart, you probably may not want to show up to this game because there's going to be some thumping going on at the line of scrimmage, no doubt.
There you go, folks. That's the pick in the Pac-12 versus the big. I know who Sean's pulling for. He's a Pac-12 guy, and of course, I'm a Big Ten guy with my Huskers in there, and but I'm a little worried about them trying to beat Buffalo, hanging 13 on them. I got my hands full with that mess. So we're not.
And
playing
we still
Florida
got Stanford, and we got Stanford, who didn't look good, and they always give us trouble for whatever reason. But they look like they got some problems of their own. We're going to be 17-point favorites, and if we don't handle that with USC, then I might jump through the television screen and my head might explode. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Interesting weekend. A lot of big games for the Pac-12 this week, Tony. A lot of big ones after half the conference did a nice job. UCLA's dangerous, and I know we'll be talking about them throughout the year.
Yeah.
Looks like Chip Kelly's got some swagger back, so I look forward to discussing that as well later on.
Yeah, you got a couple of Pac-12 teams playing Big Ten, Oregon and Ohio State, and then Washington, Michigan. So a showcase of those two conferences this weekend. Going to be a great weekend. Catch him over at iHeartRadio, Sean Salisbury Show. Catch me at Doc Sports, the free $60 account, link in the description below. Get hooked up and put some winners in the column this week, folks. Thanks for tuning in.